Cell notes. The cell is the smallest basic unit of life. Inside of the cells, they have multiple little things that look like small organs within the cell, called organelles. Now, cell theory was long ago made by 3 men who sat down to discuss. There are 3 things involved. Number 1, all living things have cells. Number 2, cells are the smallest basic unit of life. And number 3, cells are only made from other cells. Your body needs certain things for living, right? Well, a cell is the same. You must have some things for life. First, you have to keep and use energy. 2, they have to be able to repair themselves if they get damaged. 3, they have to get rid of waste. 4, the environment, they need to be aware of what's going on and match the situation. 5, they need to be able to reproduce. Understand, there's 2 kinds of cells, plant cells and animal cells. There are a lot of similarities, but there are still some things that are different. Like what? Well, right now we're going to focus on the plant cells. Well, inside they have a list of a lot of different things. For example, they have a cell wall. That is for protection, but it also will allow things like water and air to get through it. The cell wall is made from cellulose. That helps the plant have structure and strength and be able to stand up. Next, they have what's called chloroplasts. They're green and they're little dots that are inside the cells. Inside of the chloroplast is chlorophyll. What does that do? When the sun hits the plant along with water and air, they all come together to make energy or food for the plant. That's called photosynthesis. Now, let's focus on the animal cells. What do they have? They have what's called a cell membrane. It's thin compared to the cell wall of a plant cell. Cell membranes are flexible. They're not rigid. The cells inside have things necessary for life. It's called protoplasm. Everything inside the cell lives in the protoplasm. The cell membrane is stretchy but flexible. Also, it will protect the cell so something doesn't get in that needs to stay out, or something that needs to stay in stays in. But again, at the same time, things like water and air need to be able to get through the membrane. Also, the cell will be able to take the shape to help when it's pushed on. Otherwise, it would dissolve. Also, the cell membrane will help the cell keep its homeostasis levels of balance. Inside the cell is called the nucleus. What does the nucleus do? It looks like the brain or the control center for the cell. It controls everything. But inside the nucleus is another small thing called a nucleolus. It also has nucleic acid. And there are 2 kinds of nucleic acid. The first one is DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. The second one is RNA. DNA helps with communication. It sends messages, it gets messages, it's for communication. Also, DNA stores the information for making the proteins. Now, what are the proteins used for? Those are used for making new cells. And also, they will fix cells that need it. The second kind, RNA, that communicates with the DNA. Looks like they're having a big chat session. But RNA is able to leave the cell. It also takes the lead in making the proteins. So next is chromosomes. What are those for? In the cell nucleus, inside is where you'll find the chromosomes. Those are made from strands of DNA. They control everything. The nucleus inside of it, remember the nucleolus? That has RNA. Cells contain a liquid. It's a thick jelly-like liquid called cytoplasm. And everything that lives inside the cell, or the organelles, live in that cytoplasm and helps it to keep its shape. Now there's two different kinds of endoplasmic reticulum. There's rough and there's smooth. Both of them are useful. They help to move things around the cell, like the proteins and other things that need to be transported. Sometimes within the cell and sometimes outside of the cell. But how are they different? Well, smooth endoplasmic reticulum has no bumps on it. It's just a smooth object. The other one, the rough ER, that has things attached to it. It's the same shape as the smooth, but it has ribosomes attached on the outside that gives it a bumpy look. Ribosomes, what does that mean? What do they do? Well, they're involved in making protein. Protein has ribosomes in it. It's in the RNA. So those two will come together to make the protein. And then they drop the protein into the ER and it gets taken to another place. Mitochondria is considered the powerhouse. That's where the energy is made and where it's dispersed. The mitochondria has a smooth outside, but inside it has other things. It's got a wavy line of things needed inside the mitochondria. But how does it get energy? Well, sunlight, food, they get used to make energy along with water. And then that energy is dispersed throughout everywhere it needs to go. Now what about the vacuole? That's where everything is kept. It looks like the storehouse for water, food, other things that the cell is going to need for life to continue. Now in plant vacuoles, they have a lot of water. It's very big. An animal vacuole is a little bit smaller. The vacuole in the plant has a lot of water inside, which keeps the plant standing tall. If that vacuole shrinks, that's when the plant flops over and goes limp. So next in the cell is the lysosome. Animals have it, plants not so much. So what does the lysosome do? When there's food or things that need to get broken down, the lysosome has enzymes inside of it that breaks it down and then sends it to the mitochondria. So inside the lysosome are enzymes, and they will take the food or the waste or whatever and they'll eat it and break it into smaller bits. Next is the Golgi Apparatus. What is that? Well, the Golgi Apparatus looks like a room for proteins. They put everything in a cute little room and then send it away.